Failure feels heavy. It feels like a door slamming shut in your face over and over again. For a long time, my life felt like a hallway of closed doors. Each one represented a dream I had, a goal I set, or a relationship I tried to build. I would walk up to each door with so much hope in my heart. I would turn the knob, push with all my might, and find it locked. The sound of that click, that finality, echoed in my soul. It wasn't just one door, it was a series of them. Each failure adding another layer of weight to my shoulders until I could barely stand up straight. The emotional toll was immense. With every failed project, every rejection letter, and every broken promise, a little piece of my spirit seemed to wither. The sadness was a constant companion, a gray cloud that followed me from room to room. It wasn't a loud, dramatic grief, but a quiet, persistent ache. It was the feeling of letting myself down, of not being enough. I started to believe that maybe I wasn't meant to open any of those doors. Maybe I was destined to stay in the hallway, looking at all the opportunities that were meant for other people, but never for me. This feeling of being unworthy became my reality. I began to see myself through the lens of my mistakes. My identity was no longer a person who is trying, but a person who fails. It's a subtle shift, but it changes everything. When you believe you are a failure, you start acting like one. You stop trying as hard. You hesitate before reaching for the next doorknob. You start to expect the door to be locked before you even touch it. The weight of past failures makes the present moment feel impossible and the future feel hopeless. I remember sitting on the floor of that metaphorical hallway, surrounded by all the doors I couldn't open. I felt so small and so tired. The shame was suffocating. I didn't want anyone to see me there, so I isolated myself. I built walls around my heart to protect it from more disappointment. But in doing so, I also locked myself in. I was trapped not by the closed doors, but by my own fear and sadness. It was a profound and lonely place to be, a place where hope struggled to find any light. Failure is a masterful storyteller. It spins a tale that is so convincing, so personal, that you start to believe every word. The story it told me was that I was fundamentally broken. It whispered that there was something inherently wrong with me, something missing that everyone else seemed to have. This story wasn't just about my actions, it was about my very being. It wasn't that I did something wrong, it was that I was wrong. This narrative is cruel because it attacks your core sense of self-worth, making you feel incapable of success. The evidence felt overwhelming. Every mistake was a chapter in this story, proving the theme of my inadequacy. A failed business venture wasn't just a bad idea, it was proof that I lacked judgment. A difficult conversation that ended poorly wasn't just a miscommunication, it was proof that I was unlovable. Failure is so convincing because it uses your own experiences against you. It points to real events and says, "See, I told you so." It defined me by my stumbles, making me forget any time I'd ever walked steadily. This feeling of being broken is one of the most dangerous places we can find ourselves. When you believe you are broken, you stop trying to fix things. Why bother if the core problem is you? I accepted this story for a long time. I lived inside its pages, feeling defined by my mistakes. I wore my failures like a heavy coat I couldn't take off. This belief system is so powerful because it feels true. It's rooted in real pain and real disappointment, making it incredibly difficult to challenge or question. The world can reinforce this story too. We live in a culture that often celebrates success and hides failure. We see the highlight reels of others' lives and compare them to our own behind-the-scenes struggles. This comparison deepens the feeling of being fundamentally flawed. I looked around and saw people opening their doors with ease while I was still stuck in the hallway. The story failure told me became my truth. I was not capable, I was not worthy, and I was destined to remain on the outside looking in. The turning point wasn't a sudden explosion of light, it was a quiet flicker of a candle in a dark room. It happened on a day when I was at my lowest, feeling completely defeated. I was tired of the story failure had been telling me. I was tired of feeling broken. In that moment of exhaustion, a new thought emerged, soft but clear. What if failure isn't the end of the story? What if it's not an indictment but an invitation? An invitation to get curious about why those doors were locked and what I truly wanted to find behind them. This was the moment I chose to step into the arena of my own life, with all its messiness and imperfection. I decided to stop running from my failures and instead, turn and face them. I realized that failure could be a guide, it could be a teacher. Each closed door wasn't just a rejection, it was a redirection. It was a signpost pointing me away from paths that weren't truly mine. This shift in perspective was revolutionary. It didn't erase the pain, but it gave it a purpose. It transformed failure from a judge into a compass. With this new mindset, I began a journey of self-discovery. The first step was the hardest. I had to be honest with myself. I had to sit down in the quiet and ask myself the tough questions. What do I really want? Not what my family wants for me, not what society expects of me, but what does my soul truly crave? For so long I had been chasing goals that I thought I should want. I was trying to open doors that led to someone else's version of success. The failures were simply showing me that I was on the wrong path. This process was about peeling back the layers of expectation and fear. It was about listening to that quiet inner voice I had ignored for so long. For the first time, I gave myself permission to dream my own dreams, even if they seemed small or unconventional. It was scary because it meant taking responsibility for my own happiness. It meant letting go of the familiar comfort of blaming my failures on external forces. I was no longer a victim in the hallway of closed doors. I was an explorer, setting out to find the door that was built just for me. Discovering what I truly wanted was one thing, acting on it was another. The grand vision was exciting, but honestly, the reality of starting was terrifying. Old fears rushed back in. The voice of failure whispered, "Who do you think you are? You'll just mess this up too." I knew that big sweeping changes would overwhelm me and, probably prove that voice right. So I committed to something different. I decided to focus on small, daily actions. I would build my new life not with giant leaps, but with tiny consistent steps, one brick at a time. My real goals were simpler than the ones I had chased before. They were about creativity, connection, and living a more authentic life. So, my daily actions were small. I committed to writing for just 15 minutes every morning. I promised myself I would reach out to one friend each day. I started going for a walk in nature, just to clear my head. These actions were so small that they felt almost insignificant. But, they were manageable. They were things I could do even when I was scared. Each completed action was a small victory, a single brick laid in my new foundation. The progress was incredibly slow. There were days I felt like I was getting nowhere. Old habits of self-doubt and fear of judgment were strong. I would scroll through social media and see others achieving big things, and the old story of being behind or not enough would try to take hold. On those days, I had to be kind to myself. I had to remind myself that I was no longer in a race against anyone else. I was on my own journey, building my own house, at my own pace. The goal wasn't perfection. It was persistence. Over time, these small bricks started to form something solid. The daily practice of writing turned into pages, then chapters. The daily connections with friends rebuilt my support system. The walks in nature cleared my mind and sparked new ideas. My confidence grew not from a huge success, but from the cumulative effect of keeping these small promises to myself. I was learning to trust myself again. I was proving to myself one day at a time that I was capable. I was not broken. I was just under construction. My journey from failure to triumph is not a story with a perfect happy ending because the story isn't over. Success, I've learned, isn't a destination you arrive at. It's the practice of showing up day after day and daring to be seen. It's the courage to keep building even when you're scared. The lessons I learned from my failures are now the tools I use to build my life. Failure became my greatest teacher, showing me the way to a life that is truly my own. A life filled with purpose and authenticity I never thought was possible. The core lesson is this: failure is not your identity, it is information. Every stumble, every closed door, every mistake is data. It's data that tells you what isn't working, where you need to adjust, and what you might need to learn. When we can look at failure with curiosity instead of shame, we unlock its power. We can use it as a tool to carve out a path that fits us. We can let it guide us toward our most authentic selves. The goal is not to avoid failure, but to learn how to get back up, dust ourselves off, and use what we've learned to take the next step. There will still be challenges. The old fears of judgment and inadequacy don't just disappear forever, they show up, especially when I'm about to take a new risk or try something big. The difference now is that I don't believe their story. I can hear the whispers of self-doubt and say, I hear you, but I'm not letting you drive. I have built a foundation of self-trust, brick by brick, that is strong enough to withstand those old fears. I know now that my worth is not determined by my successes or my failures. My worth is inherent. If you are reading this and you feel broken by failure, please hear me. You are not done. Your story is not over. The weight you feel right now is real, but it does not have to be your forever. You are in a powerful place, a place of potential transformation. You get to decide what this chapter means. You can use every piece of your pain, every mistake, and every closed door as a building block for a life that is more real and more powerful than you can imagine. Your story is still being written, and the most beautiful pages may be yet to come.